That's why real television shows have a crew of like 10 dudes that do nothing but make sure all the switches are turned on. Fucking literally every day. I forget fucking something. At least I got the day count right. This is day 15 of my live novel editing stream. You have watched this relatively piece of shit novel transform into a beautiful butterfly slash swan slash, I don't know, prostitute hybrid that is gorgeous. Totally gorgeous. Yeah. That's why I wear the headphones so that I can tell when I'm too far away from the microphone or whatever. So we had a holiday party last night. I wound up drinking a bunch of whiskey and bourbon and rum and other various distillated brown liqueurs. And so I did not think that I'd really have it in me to do this editing stream. But I mean, the thing about, and just keep this in mind for any creative project that you work on, if you do something every day for about 7 days, it becomes harder to stop doing that thing than it is to keep doing that thing, right? We're just creatures of habit. This is mainly advice for people who are like in their 30s or later, where we have age onset autism helping us with this shit. Yeah, I just, so doesn't matter. Like if I went to bed at like 2 a.m. and drank like 10 or 15 shots of whiskey, I still got to be up in the morning doing the editing. I can't sleep through this. Like I was up at 5 a.m. and barely managed my body, barely managed to convince my body, hey, we should chill out and sleep for like an extra 45 minutes so I don't collapse during the rap contest tonight. So it's a big day today. It's a Friday. It's one of the last Fridays. A lot of people are going to have to work. What do we got here? Is that Chad Farthouse or Chatty Daddy from the MK Ultra Discord? Either way, you're welcome here on the stream. It's fucking for real. Yeah, it's early in the morning. Stayed up late. I rolls a fat jack to get my head on straight. What do we got here? So he's saying load, and then he can't type. Where's our fucking chat coming through? Let me see here. Does this work? Okay, there it is. MK Ultra. All right. Well, shout out to the MK Ultra Discord. I'm really having a good time in there. I did an AMA on the MK Ultra Discord, and it was super fucking fun. Everybody had a really good time with it. We did like a whole show on there. Well, tonight we're doing a rap contest. I see Stratum in the chat right there. Hell yeah. I'm so glad that you guys are up there with me. This morning, I'm drinking La Colombe coffee. This is cold brew. I guess these guys are in... they're in Michigan? Wow. This shit has been everywhere for a while. Yeah, this is not my favorite cold brew, but let's see what it's all about. That's not without its charms. In fact, it's actually utterly inoffensive, and I would go so far as to say that's a solid cold brew. Yeah, I was talking shit on it, but it was pretty amazing. What am I looking at IRC for? In solidarity with Pete Buttigieg, LRH will be broadcast live from a wine cave this morning. The text is too small for me to see it. You'd have to paste it into the restream chat. So apparently, Zach is on the hunt for the specific beverage that turns him gay, which is why we see him drinking a different one on nearly any broadcast. No, I'm a fucking slave to novelty. Really, I love trying something new, especially if it is homosexual. All right, so what do we have here? And then Stratum, in solidarity with Pete Buttigieg, LRH will be broadcast live from a wine cave this evening. It's less about the wine and more about the color of it, Lode Ray Dio said in a statement. Red is the color of solidarity. Our Marxist revolution is at hand. We will put them all against the wall, Lode continued. I could not fucking agree more. Even back in my days where I was the guild warlock in World of Warcraft, I would always open by saying, click the portal, comrades. The dictatorship of the proletariat is at hand. Hell yeah. And I still believe that to this very day, that all comrades should click the portal. So, wait, what do I have? 44.65 thousand subscribers. Wow, where? I definitely do not have. So MK Ultra says, I played World of Warcraft. I still do, but I used to as well. That's fucking amazing. I'm trying really hard not to get sucked into that. Like I would never be able to get a bunch of this book. It really drains any kind of creative energy that you want to have. Okay, so we already know what we want to do this chapter. Let's become a little bit of a tradition to see what our boy bought. Let me see if I can find. Oh, I want this one. So this is our boy Charles Baudelaire. God, I hope I'm not saying his name totally wrong. All right, here, hold on. Pronounced Charles Baudelaire.
Sorry, Ishmael. I don't see Charles Baudelaire in your contacts.
Baudelaire? Fuck off. Oh my god, I fucking just doxed myself. Ugh. Ugh. Pronounced Charles Baudelaire.
Pronouncenames.com.
Charles Baudelaire.
Baudelaire.
Charles Baudelaire.
Baudelaire. All right.
Do we have...
Fuck off. Baudelaire. I like that the E is kind of, well, fortunately, nobody watches this fucking stream because I don't think I've ever let my name slip ever before. Fuck that one up. Breaking news. Doxing oneself is not recommended. Well, so this is Les Fleurs du Mal by Charles Baudelaire. Charles Baudelaire. Baudelaire. Yeah, see, it's got that little... French is so difficult for me because it's got like all these little... I barely say it. My tongue just touches the very tip of the penis. And only the very tip. So it's just a faintest whiff of gay upon me. Yes. It's not even a French accent. Maybe I should just like knuckle down and spend a few months working on it and just really try to nail some of these accents. I think that would be like the strongest thing that I could do for my other show. Because I could potentially do it. I'm just so bad at remembering. Anyhow, this is The Enemy. My youth was nothing but a lowering storm, occasionally lanced by sudden suns. Torrential rains have done their work so well that no fruit ripens in my garden now. Already the autumn of ideas has come, and I must dig and rake and dig again if I am to reclaim the flooded soil, collapsing into holes the size of graves. I dream of new flowers, but who can tell if this eroded swamp of mine affords the mythic nourishment on which they thrive? Time consumes existence, pain by pain. The hidden enemy that gnaws our heart feeds on the blood we lose and flourishes. It's a real one. I was trying to explain Baudelaire to my girlfriend last night, and just trying to get across that he was like goth at least 2 centuries before it was dope to be goth, which has never been dope to be goth, but in the year 2046 it will suddenly become cool because the goths will be terrorists, like actual fucking terrorists, and everybody loves terrorists. All right, let's get down to it. So in this chapter, the day begins bad. It stretches into something long enough. Oh, so if you've never watched a stream before, I really should do a morning. Yeah, I'd have to get fired to do a morning show because the morning is when I write. So the part of the morning where I'm available is like around 10 a.m. or whatever. But yeah, really, I'm much more fresh in the morning. I have to like sleep for like 3 or 4 hours before every show. I do like at 10 o'clock now because I'm old. So if you've never watched the stream before, we're editing this novel. This is Gravid by Zach Z. Wisey. I have 5 books in print. This is my 8th completed book. I guess 2 of them I'm trying to get published right now, but I don't know, nigga. So this is page 150 out of 770. We've been trucking along. So we've been editing like an average of about 10 pages a day right there, and spending about 3 hours to do it. So yeah, it's like getting 3.3 pages an hour of editing. And today I don't expect that we'll do fantastic things, but I have a plan of attack for what I want to do here. So yeah, those are my credentials. I've been writing for about 20 years. I guess you would call it professionally because I make money from books, but I don't think that you can call yourself a professional something until that shit is at least paying your rent in terms of a part of your income. Like I can call myself a professional radio host or a professional troll because those things pay my rent. This does not. This will probably never pay my rent, but I love it anyway. So I put much more time into this than into the show that actually makes me money, because that's how people are wired there. So anyhow, this is a story about a young woman who becomes very depressed after the death of her father. Just the world does not seem as fun anymore. She's getting bullied at her school. And after a girl just socks her in the fucking eye, she winds up just giving up entirely. She just lays down on the ground. It's like, fine, just fucking kill me. And lies down in the rain. And then she's found by the people at her school. And things get much worse. Her mother shows up to like confront the other girl's mother and winds up beating the piss out of her. Not literally in the book, but definitely figuratively beats the piss out of her. And so after that encounter, things just worsen for Freya. Kids continue to harass her. And finally, she decides to kill herself and tries to do it by drowning herself in the Silas River. This is the fictional town of Silas, Maine. I would say that it's in upper central Maine, maybe like an hour or 2 from the Canadian border. And this river does not exist. This town does not exist. These people do not exist. So I cannot be fucking jackhammered for life. Oh my God, is Jigsaw in the chat? Holy shit. The Toronto Tranny Strangler in the flesh. Hell yeah. Shout out to Jigsaw, owner of the cleanest Camry in all of Canada. Hell yeah. So we're talking about a morning news hour where I just mocked the headline. I could fucking do that. I could norm it up. I don't have any writers, so it would just be completely improvised and probably not the coolest thing ever. So anyhow, in the story, as she's attempting to drown herself, she is thwarted in her attempt by the crash of a meteorite behind her. And when she fishes herself out of the river and goes to inspect the meteorite, she finds that it's almost perfectly spherical, which is weird. Meteorites are usually not spherical, and about the size of a baseball. So she takes it home, investigates it, and it cracks open. Inside of it is a purple orb, about 25 millimeters. That's about 1 inch for you godless fucking Yanks. 1 inch in diameter. And it, like, weirdly, she gets pricked by it. And it's like a dot of blood on her palm. And she's, what the fuck is going on here? Well, in the story, many things have happened. She started taking MMA classes because her mother is making her. She has started. So Chad is saying that he would smoke these ground up moon rocks just to get himself back to normal. And I agree. I think it's a great idea to, if you see something come from outer space, just try and fucking vaporize it to see if you get high. Don't like investigate it or do science or any of that nerd shit. Just try to get really fucking wrecked. It's ridiculous. So, all right. Anyhow, in the story, we've now gotten to the part where she has just investigated this meteorite and found out, holy shit, this looks like it might be of alien manufacture. And after finding that out, Freya has decided, you know what? I'm not going to fucking tell anybody about this one. Not because she's like, well, she's kind of a cunt. But yeah, it's like a fundamentally selfish decision. She's like, I just don't want to deal. I can't even with this science shit. So she just decides she's going to keep the discovery of an alien artifact to herself because she is a severely depressed 16-year-old girl, and she really doesn't care about anybody but herself for the most part, which is exactly what my high school experience was like. I was a very depressed 16-year-old girl, and look at me today. Thanks to the magic of transgenderism, I am now a very robust man. Listen to this voice and this Adam's apple that I had surgically implanted. Don't let them fool you. Uh, so she doesn't actually smoke the Star Ball, but it does sound like a really good kind of heroin. Like, yo, you want to do some of that Star Ball, homie? I don't know that heroin addicts actually call each other homie. That might be kind of racist. But let's get to it. So we're just going to start editing the chapter over again. The day began bad and stretched into something long and dreadful. It started to rain as Freya biked to school, and when she finally arrived, she was soaked through. She had to go change into her gym clothes, and she felt awkward, like everyone was looking. And she felt awkward in the halls, like everyone was looking at her. She had to explain herself again in every class. Her teachers all had distrustful looks, as if she would lie to them to get away with wearing musty gym clothes in class. She checked her locker after lunch, but everything was still damp. It was going to be a really uncomfortable ride home. So in this chapter, the reason why she's biking to school in mid-November and getting rained on and everything is she just had a big fucking fight with her mother, where she called her mother a drunk whore, essentially. They just got into a big fight, and the mother's like, fine, fucking find your own way to school, you little cunt. And so now she's dealing with the aftermath of that. In all the empty spaces of the day, she kept remembering the awful look on Lass's face. It was the shittiest thing Freya had ever said to her mother. The apology didn't matter. Neither of them would ever forget it. Classes dragged on. There was something wrong with the network at the school. So she would say, there was something wrong with the school network, and none of the interactive whiteboards worked. No one could retrieve anything off the shared drive. That's better. It was awkward before. The teachers were all a bit irritable and frustrated. No one could retrieve anything off the shared drive, and it made all the teachers irritated, except for Mr. Mazzini. When they sat down for trig, Mr. Mazzini gleefully wheeled out an old incandescent lamp projector, the kind you used with transparency sheets and vis-a-vis markers. As she set it up, he was cackling about how he hadn't used one in almost a decade. It was kind of retro at first, but the novelty wore off quickly. As Freya squinted at the screen, wondering if that was meant to be a 4 or a 9, she ran her fingers over the star ball in her pocket. Let's say, oh, that's a stumbly sentence right there. Let's take a look. As Freya squinted at the screen, So before that, we're doing recollection, and then we pop to present right here. Mm-hmm. Freya squinted at the screen, wondering if that squiggle was supposed to be a 4 or a 9. At the center of the whiteboard, an image of an Ethernet jack with a break in the cord kept blinking. She ran her fingers over the star ball in her pocket. Is it you? She wondered. She remembered looking at the router at... uh... uh. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Hmm. Hold up. Jesus. Okay. Is that you? She wondered. She remembered when their internet at home had gotten messed up. That reserved MAC address in the DHCP table with 262.25. Shout outs to in 2029, them still having 10 megabit in fucking upstate Maine. That's awful. All right, what do we got here? Is that you? She wondered. She remembered when their internet at home had gotten messed up. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go blow my nose. All right, 2-minute break, and then I shall return. Oh. All right. So if this public gets published and takes off, Starball breakfast cereal is going to make you a fortune. You might consider the title of this piece and what might happen later in the book before we talk about something that little children are going to put in their mouths. Just, just putting it out there, man. Like I'm sure it seems pretty innocuous right now. Mm. edited out the MAC address portion when initially doing. Didn't we add that back in, or we made it like the DHCP table or something like that? We can't actually do that. Oh. Mm. Mm. I think saying like they figured out TCP/IP is like that doesn't track right to me, right? Uh, yeah, it just seems like a little heavy hand. I mean, that's maybe it's fucking. I don't know, man. That doesn't feel quite right. Mm. Let's try that. Is it you? She wondered. She remembered when their internet at home had gotten messed up. The mysterious entry in the DHCP table that was maxing out their cable modem. What if that wasn't just some neighborhood kid running torrents? What if it was the Starball? She frowned at the idea. She was suggesting that... It would mean that in a couple of weeks, an alien probe had not only figured out how to communicate with radio waves, it also cracked their wireless network and figured out... yeah, this is a garbage sentence. What does a horse chestnut look like? Horse chestnut. That's really good, Shadow. In just a few weeks, it had mastered all 7 layers of the OSI protocol stack. What are the fucking 7 layers of the OSI protocol stack? 7 conceptual layers. I don't even know what the fuck this is. Oh, like most of these aren't even in use anymore. X400, X500, and ISIS. Internet Protocol Suite, maintained by the data link layer. Wow, this is getting into some real fucking nerd shit here. All right, let's take a look at here. I hate that Google image search doesn't fucking defines ASCII, IBIDX, SQL, okay, application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, physical layer. All right, like I don't know what the fucking OSI protocol stack is. Let me take a look. Okay. Yeah, I fucking used to make my living with computers and I never heard about this shit. I didn't realize that fucking HTTP would be on the application layer. That's weird. Yeah, it really feels like they're Yomi layers of networking. Okay. Well, that's kind of cool. Master TP. See, you don't fucking master TCP/IP. I do like OSI layers. Ale protocol stack versus these are just like really weird. Man, it's been a long time since I've had to worry about polling and all this whatever there. Yeah, it would necessarily have to understand and adapt networking to get its own MAC address. Yeah, just communicating with those devices. It has to go through the basic authentication protocol. It has to you have to have like a fair understanding of a lot of different things to pick it up there. Let me see. But I digress. Because actually, we don't want her to figure this out at this point there. Mm-hmm. Router. Mm. Okay. So Spaethiwa has like many things here. It's the Yomi layers of networking. It would necessarily have to adapt networking to get its own address. That involves being able to understand OSI and also Wi-Fi encryption. But the question is, does she understand how complex it was? So these statements must be within Freya's knowledge and understanding. Kids readily accept that an Alexa or Siri can feel emotions. I don't see how those last two statements track together. I know that you have been up awake for a really long time, um, but no. I think it's fair to if we're framing her as this girl who created a fucking hidden Linux partition on her computer so that she could jack off in peace. She should be very skeptical of the idea that an alien can just do this, right? This is like a Jeff Goldblum Independence Day, like let's upload the virus fucking moment. And yeah, she should be very skeptical about this because, like, from a linguistic perspective, what the Starball is meant to be doing here is fucking insane, right? The like you could drop somebody into a fucking Navajo encampment and they might go their entire life never fucking doing like skulls on monitors. Hell yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like making screens flicker and shit like that. But uh yeah, like so like it's a big ask for a technical person to believe that this is happening, and I think we're framing her as being kind of technical. Um, the question is the OSI protocol stack what Linux nerds call it? Because that's what we want her to talk about. Yeah, so here she's just okay. So the OSI stack has no other names. Yeah, so here she's just saying like this couldn't happen because like that's too fucking complicated. There are several places in this book where Freya is intensely skeptical of other things. Um, at some point, she brings up like the Fermi paradox, like right away. She's like holding a like alien probe in her jeans pocket, and is like, "Oh yeah, the Fermi paradox. There's nothing fucking out there." Hell yeah, hell yeah. Well, like I see a lot of competing kind of ideas for stacks, which are just. I mean, it's just like basically like a classification system, trying to like shoehorn everything into fit under this rubric there. So yeah, like well, I like it. I like OSI protocol stack a lot more than fucking TCP/I theory. Or it's not a theory. I like saying that a lot more than TCP/IP because this is something all encompassing, and the machine really needs to figure out like things on a much deeper level than just I sent a packet. Did you receive it? Yes, I acknowledge receipt of your packet. Great. you know, and jumbo frames and fucking whatever. And like also like then I had to like think, wait, are torrents fucking even over TC? Are they UDP packets? What the fuck is going on? You know, like this. I'm not a technical person. Believing that would meant for that to be true, it would require that 2 weeks after crash landing in the river, a probe from an alien civilization had not only figured out enough of the OSI protocol stack to communicate with their router, it had also figured out how to subvert it and crack their wireless password. That is quite a fucking. Uh, let me see. Let's just say that they're cracking WPA3 encryption. It's 2029. We should have WPA3 then. Actually, hold on. When is WPA3 coming out? Okay. Cisco announced support. WPA 3 certify new products. Oh, it's already fucking out there. Four features: privacy on public Wi-Fi networks, protection against brute force attacks, easier connection process for devices without displays, higher security. Okay. No, did it actually come out or did it fucking? Security researchers identified vulnerabilities in a limited number of early implementations of WPA 3. Okay, cool. Let's have it crack the fucking encryption. Oh, that's. For that to be true, it would require that 2 weeks after crash landing in the river, this probe from an alien civilization had figured out enough of the OSI protocol stack to communicate with their router. Then it. Mm. She frowned at the implausibility of it. For that to be true, it would require that 2 weeks after crash landing in the river, this probe from an alien civilization had figured out enough of the OSI protocol stack to communicate with their router, which would have required it to crack WPA. Crash landed into Cisco Labs. God, I wish somebody would crash land into fucking Cisco. I never want to have to talk to some fucking insufferable CCNE cocksucker ever again in my life. Fucking just use a Jewy, you nerds. Jewy. Pronouncing. I wonder how long I could get away with pronouncing gooey as Jewy before somebody would like correct me. Yeah, just use the Jewy. That's awful. Uh, oh yeah, we're gonna go far in the publishing industry. I'm telling you right here, boys. Uh no, I don't think we can. I don't think we can talk about the. Freya frowned at the impossibility of it. Freya frowned. Freya frowned at the implausibility of it. For that to be true, it would require that 2 weeks after crash landing in the river, this probe from an alien civilization had figured out enough of the OSI protocol stack to communicate with their with their router. Uh, mm, with their netgear. Oh wait, can they have a Linksys? Do they still fucking make Linksys? Hold on, is that still a thing? No, they still fucking make routers. No, that's not just communicate. It would have had to crack WPA3 to even authenticate in the first place. There was no way. She couldn't believe it would go to such crazy lengths without even bothering to pulse high at her in Morse code or flicker the lights in her bedroom. Still, the possibility had to be addressed. How could she test that hypothesis? Her first idea was to put the star ball in a heavy lead box to see if isolating it fixed the network, but she didn't have anything like that. She considered wrapping it. Next, she considered wrapping it up in one of those vests they made her wear when she got an x-ray, but she doubted there were any in the science lab. Then she... I'll stick that out there. But she didn't have anything like that. Then she wondered if it had to be lead. Pretty much any metal was good at blocking wireless transmission. It was a shame she didn't have the two halves of the meteorite with her. She brought them home and hid them in her closet. She tried to think of where she could find a metal box to act as a Faraday cage, and realized she could just put the star ball in her locker. Her clothes were in there right now, probably still damp and dripping. She could put the star ball in the pocket of her jeans, shut the door, and see if the disruption stopped. 10 minutes before the end of class, an announcement came over the intercom. The vice principal's reedy voice... Why are we announcing? Loaded day keeps the globalists away. Yeah, some of the raps for the contest tonight were they're very anti-globalist in their scope. I think there are like some like I'm gonna have to like put on a fucking red hat for some of these raps. I didn't realize people were gonna get so fucking political with it. They're just supposed to be disses. But yeah, like so I'll tell you that both Pokri and Vapor and Eraser have all sent in fucking raps, which is like, it's the greatest holiday gift that I can possibly have for our audience. Like, that's all three. I've heard all three of their raps. I haven't listened all the way through to any of them because I want to be surprised when I listen. So if they like snuck in, I don't know, subliminal messages to kill the president or something like that, I'm sorry. I just haven't listened to them. But yeah, I'm really excited. It's gonna be super fun. All right, what do we got here? That's how it is when we are living in a peach. The one piece of that whole alt-right ideology that I really like is the concept of us living in a clown world. I love that meme, like where you can just explain away any stupid shit that happens by just being like clown world, this like fatalism that's crept over them. Like, what are you gonna fucking do? We live in a clown world. Honk honk. I fucking love it. It's I like explaining other corollaries within fringe movements would quickly get this stream banned off of Twitch. Like things I was just, but there I'm sure that like springing to your mind right now are other instances of people who have just like kind of given up and explaining, oh, things are always going to be that way. And yeah, I find like significant appeal in people who have just given up and embraced the fact that they're churning in the surf and things are never going to get better. Hell yeah. It's fucking gangster. Give up. All right. Something 1939. Yeah, it's really politically interesting right now. Um, I hope that they don't make this fucking impeachment thing drag on fucking forever, because the Clinton thing, you remember that shit went on for like a year and it was so boring. And the whole time I was just, can we please? I was like fucking 9 years old when that's going on, and even then I was like, can we please just let this nigga get his dick sucked and get on with the country? This is fucking ridiculous. I don't want to hear about Ken Starr and Trent Locke, and because they spent like fucking felt like a decade on this thing. The Republicans, like now they just want it to be over with, and the dildocrats are like, nah, nigga, we're going after your orange Jesus. So it's just going to drag on fucking forever. There's so many more interesting things we could be doing with our time, like the Space Force, or I don't know, fucking, establishing floating cities for when the Earth is 140 degrees Celsius every day. Let's get on it. Okay. 10 minutes before the end of class, a reedy technician's voice came over the intercom. Feigning outrage, Mr. Mazzini trundled over and held down the power button, and after a few minutes, the spark racing around a loop graphic. Yeah, I don't know if y'all were following it yesterday, but I actually got into like a pretty deep discussion with my girlfriend about old J.K. Rowling coming out as a TERF. So I thought this was kind of interesting there. I had a really good tweet on this one, so I'm happy about it. But yeah, like this woman in Britain who was like, I think a researcher for the National Science something or other. She researched somewhere associated with the government, and she put out a tweet that said, like, get all the surgery you want, you're still never going to be a woman. And then she was fired for this, and she just lost her appeal for this fucking tweet, for this opinion that she held and tweeted out there. And J.K. Rowling came out in support of her, and she was just like, hey, like a very kind of, it was just like an outright tweet of support for this lady who was about to get fucking fired over a tweet. And so suddenly she's like the biggest transphobe that ever fucking lived, and a TERF and all this other bullshit. And the in the UK, there has been like something of a backlash against transgender people because a lot of women are like, I don't want transgenders in the same bathroom as me. I don't want like to be like taking my 12-year-old for her first bra fitting, and there's like a transgender there, and yeah, really, I mean, it's definitely exclusionist. We've had kind of similar shit in the United States, but most of the exclusion has come from men, like men in the legislature, pushing this narrative of like, oh, do you want, a big old trainer in your bathroom with your little girl and all this, right? The like political hay that they were trying to make was from a perspective of men protecting women from other creepy men. But in the case of England, this is much more women saying, like, get these transgenders out of here because we feel uncomfortable or we feel unsafe or whatever they're. And women-only spaces are sacred and all this other thing. I don't have a horse in this race, I don't really give a shit. I think it's not super important to me, but obviously, like, really huge, probably like the hugest author alive today, just in terms of book sales and so forth, coming out in support of a weird policy. And so, like, my tweet went along the lines of, like, what they're really mad about here is they were willing to believe in J.K. Rowling's fairy tale, but she was not willing to believe in theirs. Which is like a mega fucking diss. But yeah, like, so I had a big long discussion about the issue with my girl, where I was just positing, like, hey, I'm perfectly willing to go along with like pronouns and so forth with people to make them feel better because their lives are shit. But at the end of the day, we're just pretending, like a man can't become a woman can't become a man. Like, I realize that these are gender constructs, but there are also mechanical constraints. Like, you just can't fucking do this. You'll always be sort of faking the funk. And then her retort was basically that, all gender is a spectrum, and she sees like transgenderism as people attempting to like move a little bit further in one direction or another on the spectrum. It's an interesting conversation there. I think she brought up some valid points. I think the use of intersex people to try and explain transgender issues is usually fair. It's kind of like a red herring for the most part, because I know that there is a significant portion of intersex, I don't know, like some 0.1% or something like that. But acceptance is also a spectrum, according to Spathiwa. But yeah, like it was like a few times I was like, I had like a few solid points there too, where I was like, we were talking about this place called The Wing, which is meant to be a female-only co-working space, but they can't actually keep men out because it's in the United States, and men just keep showing up. Some of them, like, not even transgender people, they're just like, I'm just gonna be here, fucking deal with it, ladies. Which is, I guess, and to her credit, she was like, yeah, like if we are trying to go into all men's clubs, we can't be pissed when they're trying to come into our clubs. Let's see. PM Blackface wants us to use proper pronouns in the workplace. So this is the part that I come into, like, sort of the enforcement of language. I guess my position is, I think it's a really nice thing to do, to go along with somebody's like pronouns, but I don't know if it's a good thing for those people, right? I don't know if like fostering this community of acceptance or whatever is that helpful when like clearly a lot of what they're doing is like cognitive dissonance. Like, they're constantly confronted with the fact that the reality of the situation is not what they wish it could be. And like, even after surgery, outcomes are fucking terrible there. So, I just keep in mind, we're talking about this tiny sliver of the population, really, and not to say this dismissively, these are human beings with thoughts and feelings and everything, but really an irrelevant spectrum of the population when you really come down to it. If we talk about the amount of time and energy, like, I'm wasting time and energy talking about this right now, and it just doesn't fucking matter. But in terms of science fiction and fantasy, it absolutely does matter, right? Nobody, you're not going to win a fucking Hugo. You're not going to win a fucking Nebula. If this is, if your opinion is just, yeah, like trans women, if you don't, there's a line, and that line, it's very much a line in the sand. People who are like, I'll use somebody's pronouns, are like over here on this side of the line. And there are people who, for them, the line is trans women are women. And if you can't make that statement, they will kick you the fuck out of their communist Discord. They will not include you in their polite conversation. And it's a very like Orwellian distinction between like this idea that reality is what we say reality is. And there's some degree that words shape reality, and definitely the way that we treat people will change the reality and so forth. But at the end of the day, like no amount of pronouns is going to get them Y chromosomes out of there. You know what I'm saying? No amount of inclusiveness is going to let a transgender woman ever bear children, right? We need way more high-tech shit than that. So, so Fancy Scientician said homosexual extremists is something he saw in his news feed last night. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was like, I'll probably talk about that. I won't have a chance to talk about that on the show tonight because we're doing the rap contest and so forth. But that was running through my mind. And one thing I like about this girl is that she had like a very different opinion from me, but we were able to like have a very nuanced conversation about it. So Fancy Scientician is saying, hopefully CRISPR will save all of us soon. Well, there's like kind of part of the problem with like the whole CRISPR thing is a lot of the genetic modifications that you make to people, you need to make them in utero for them to have real lasting consequences with the current state of the technology. So it's fascinating. But this is not a book about transgenderism, but after this one, I'm working on one where there are significant elements of people transforming into other things, and we're going to go deep on it there. But we've gotten very little editing done here. We need to I want to finish this fucking chapter today. I do not want to have it be another 3-day chapter. So I don't need to go on some irrelevant diatribe about gender rights there. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of running through my mind today. It's a good combo there. Yeah, really and I'm not saying I need to win conversations and so forth, but if my personal viewpoint is while you can do whatever you want with your body, I think transgender surgery is almost always a mistake. The people I know that have had it, and I'm sure that's anecdotal, but that is an intensely painful thing to do to yourself, and everybody I know that's had that done has regretted that shit hardcore within 2 to 3 years. And I don't have any children, so I don't really give a fuck about kids or whatever. But it, just to my mind, the idea of starting to transition people when they're 8 or 9 or 12 or whatever, I'm so glad nobody fucking did that to me, Shapeshifter novella coming. No, that's not a novella. Rub. That's that book. That book is longer than Gravid. So that would be 2022 if I start working on it now. It's not done either. And it's going to need a lot of work. I like it, but it's real fucking weird. It's I don't know if you ever read Holy by Daniel Quinn, which I bring up a lot, but it's kind of on that level of disjointed and not a really strong plot or anything happening to it, and just weird. So holla holla. But yeah, it's real fucking long. It's neat though. The premise of that book is that there is an Oriental massage parlor where the woman there will massage you into whatever form your heart desires the most. She's like a witch, but she won't change you back. Hell yeah. It just gets so weird. Feigning outrage, Mr. Mazzini trundled over to hold down the power button, and after a few minutes the Grayson logo appeared. The whiteboard booted back up and found the network. That timing. Did the Starball hear her thinking about putting it in her locker? Can it read my thoughts? Did it know I was about to put it in my locker? It was a weird thought, and it made the whole interaction this morning seem even stranger. Had she really drunk the Ensure? She tried to remember if she'd had a weird taste in her mouth when she woke up, but couldn't. She was usually pretty out of it for a few minutes after waking. Was Lasso right about the Ensure? For a moment, Freya doubted everything. Was Lasso right about the Lunesta? For a moment, Freya doubted everything. Maybe she'd gone mad with grief or suffered brain damage getting socked in the eye. Maybe the Starball was just an ordinary rock and she'd imagined everything. Maybe she died that night, and she'd imagined everything at the river. Maybe she died that night and hell was just Mr. Mazzini going on and on about polynomials. As the hours stretched on, it seemed more and more plausible. Okay, so I needed to remember if polynomials happen in trigonometry. I think trig is polynomials. In mathematical subfields of numerical analysis and mathematical analysis, a trigonometric polynomial is a finite linear combination of functions sin and cos, with n taking the values of one or more natural numbers. The coefficients may be taken as real numbers. What the fuck? Using okay, so cool. So polynomials would be something that you would learn in trigonometry. I have no concept of what trigonometry is. Like everything in the sentence I just said, I don't know what the fuck that is. So, real talk. When class finally ended, she took the Starball out of her pocket, and it was the same perfect violet sphere as ever. It was the same perfect violet sphere as ever. She tucked it back away before it. Khan Academy taught me everything I know about trigonometry. Huh. Yeah, maybe I should start doing Khan Academy or something like that. For a while I was doing
these sort of lectures on tape that I was actually really enjoying from the Learning Company. I would just pirate these torrents of it and listen to like some really cool lectures and such. When class finally ended, she made sure. Do whatever you want. I don't care, Freya whispered to the orb. There was no response. Yeah, TLC was fucking amazing. Like some of the sociology classes that I like went through on that were just fucking amazing. I wish that there was like a site where all that shit was just available in like a streaming platform, where you didn't have to fucking torrent it and you could access it from work, and just where they were like all laid out in a streaming thing where I didn't have to fuck around with media or whatever there. One thing that is nice is like there's a lot of Joseph Campbell stuff on Spotify, and like I find his lectures like super fascinating. Really a big fan. I like his accent too. He's like straight out of the Bronx. The Bronx, talking about Indians. That's not really a Bronx accent, but I digress. When class finally ended, Freya remained behind as everyone else filed out. Freya remained behind as everyone else stampeded for the door. Mr. Manzini was talking to someone in the hall. She was the only one left, and she was. Hmm. Okay. Do whatever you want. I don't care. She waited for any communication at all, but there was nothing. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore, and she ducked into an empty corridor that led to the covered walkway to the arts building. No one ever came this way. The arts building was a blocky hulk that had been built in the mid-1970s. The school board had often considered tearing it down and replacing it with more. Every year, the school board discussed tearing it down to put up something more modern, but they never quite found the money. The building's facade was concrete inlaid with pebbles, and all around the door, people had stuck used gum in the gaps where the stones had fallen out. Near the side entrance, the wall was studded with used gum. Over the years, many of the stones had fallen out, and near the entrance to the building, the wall was studded with used gum people had stuck in the gaps. Cool. A steady rain was falling. There was a bench halfway across the walkway where she could wait for the madness to subside. The arts building was a blocky hulk that had been built in the mid-1970s. Every year, the school board discussed tearing it down to put up something more modern, but they never quite found the money. The building's facade was concrete inlaid with pebbles. Over the years, many of the stones had fallen out, and near the entrance to the building, the wall was studded with used gum people had stuck in the gaps. A steady rain was falling outside. Freya swept her hand across a bench that was glistening with water and sat down. A steady rain was falling. Freya swept water off the bench and then sat down, feeling dampness soaking through the back of her shorts. It didn't matter. She was about to change into wet clothes and then bike home in the rain. She would basically never be dry again. Freya told herself she was just waiting here until the escape rush cleared. Yeah, I love this line. Um, Freya told herself she was just waiting. Let me see. Freya told herself she was just going to give them. There, that needs to work. I gotta start waking up earlier for this stream. Well, it's usually like about. Usually we start at about 6 o'clock. We were a little late today because I'm hungover as fuck. But yeah, it's been pretty consistent. Like just about every day at either like 5 or 6 o'clock, I've been getting up and doing this. So and like we're 15 days, 16 days really into it, and showed no signs of stopping. I'm gonna keep going until the fucking book is finished. Like, I'm not gonna go on a vacation. I'm not gonna go anywhere or like whatever. Like maybe on the weekends I'll start a little bit later. But yeah, we're gonna just keep fucking hammering through this guy. Freya told herself she was just waiting for the mob to clear out. Hmm. Yeah, we don't need to go that far. Da. As rain hissed down around her, she had the peculiar feeling once more. This is all happening to someone else. She was just a disembodied observer, watching someone pilot a malfunctioning human. Down the hill, Freya could see the spot where Tammy had attacked her. She'd lain in the grass and let the rain cover her. Now she imagined herself melting in that rain, dissolving into the earth. She'd lain in the grass and let the rain cover her. Now she imagined herself melting in that rain, dissolving into the earth like salt until a patch of dead grass was the only sign she'd ever existed. Getting real like 16-year-old high school girl here. Hell yeah. That tracks. Honestly, like these two lines right here and this paragraph right here is like how I felt for my entire like sophomore year going to drama class experience. God, that's such an insufferable little fag. Oh, and still am. Nothing's changed. Just gotten bigger and gayer as time goes on. The lights flicked on in the closest classroom of the art building, giving Freya a reprieve from her spiral of self-pity. It was a dance studio. There were floor-to-ceiling mirrors on the walls and a wooden rail in front of them. What do they call those? What do they call that fucking rail name? Is it a ballot berry? Oh yeah. Oh cool. Yeah. Cool. It does have a name. Hmm. How do you conjugate berry? Okay, so yeah, there. Okay. Let's somebody fucking message me here? Fuck these people. Why am I getting messaged at like 7 a.m.? I do not give a shit. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, let's try and how to pronounce berry.
Bar.
Bar. That's great.
Bar.
Okay. Thank you, French people. Ballet bar. And so it looks like a typo if it's just pronounced bar. Hmm. Okay, so yeah, there we go. We just need to include side entrance there, so you're not like wondering, like, how are these people getting into the class without like filing by Freya? So we just need to make it so this is like an unused side entrance there. I can't believe we're only going to get through like the first half of this chapter. There are like 3 parts of this fucking chapter. Well, that's all we got in us. Yeah, like not a great output today, but I blame whiskey. It's my own fucking fault. I didn't have to come home and drink all that whiskey. But I did, because it's a fucking party night. All right, what do we got here? Girls in yoga pants were filing into the room, forming small clusters of conversation. Radimir's father worked at Hidden Kurnu. Lassa was his boss's boss. Freya had first met the family at a company picnic back in 7th grade. They'd once been close, but no longer. Just like everyone else. Radomir was standing at the front of the room, and everyone was turning to him. Radomir stood at the front of the room and said something. Everyone turned to face him. Freya realized he wasn't taking the class, he was teaching it. For a moment, she was afraid he would look out the window and see her skulking in the rain, but he was too focused. So this is tough. It's really difficult to say you're like picturing someone's accent, right? Because you don't picture an accent. You know, it's like you want to say that she can see, she can like almost hear his accent, even though like she's behind the other side of the glass. That's very tricky to get across in a meaningful way. God, everybody's blowing up my Discord. Leave me alone, you nerds. All right, hold on. Did I log into Discord or did I not bother? I think I put it on this phone. All right, what do we got? So Kim. Wait, is today Thursday or fucking Friday? Yeah, it's the 20th. The rap contest is today. What do I got here? Okay, yeah, just getting messages about the rap contest. I'm letting people submit shit even past the deadline, but like basically I'm telling them if they fucking tie with somebody else, that other person just wins, right? And I think that's fair. Everybody else got their shit in on time, so hell yeah. All right. 20 feet away with rain roaring against the steel woof of the steel woof. And actually, is 20 feet far enough? 20 feet. Because she's seeing 30 feet away. Ten meters away, with rain roaring against the steel roof of the walkway, she could still practically hear Radimir's Russian accent as his mouth moved on. Mm-hmm. She watched his mouth moving on the other side of the glass. He was 10 meters away, and the rain was roaring against the steel roof of the walkway, but she felt like she could almost hear his thick Russian accent. When they'd first met, she could barely understand him. He'd gotten so much better in just a few years. Freya looked at the way the girls stood as he spoke with them. Radimir looked so much more confident now, even though he was a junior teaching seniors. He began to show them all a series of steps that looked simple when he did them, but when the class tried to follow, many faltered. Radimir stopped them and repeated the demonstration. More of the girls were catching up. The pace of the class was very fast. These were probably the most advanced dance students at Grayson. Freya watched them all running through steps, trying to pick out who was good. Radimir paused and corrected a girl who was a head taller than him. She had thick, curly black hair that a ponytail could barely contain. That had to be Jeanette Lewis, the captain of the lacrosse team. She was ferocious on the field, but she wasn't one of the better dancers. Freya watched her bring her palm to her forehead in embarrassment. Radimir said something short to her and then went to another girl. Another lost cause. She kept staring at trying to find the strength to leave. Okay, cool. So that's going to be it for today. This is like a shorter editing session. I had meant to work on the next part, which we're going to try and change the tense. We're going to go from past perfect to just past tense and set this a little bit. I want to give like a little insight into what middle school might have been like for Freya back when her dad's still alive and all this was going on and so forth. So big things happening there. We're at page 156 of 771. I'm glad we went back over that chapter because I think we had significant improvements in that edit there. That chapter did not get the tender, loving care that it needed. So yeah, not wasted to have a second pass there, but definitely I need to wake up a little bit early and lay off of the fire water if I want to get this shit done before I'm dead and in hell. All right, so thank you to everybody who joined. Thank you for especially the help on that, what is that, OST protocol, fucking OSI protocol. I thought that was a really good note. Yeah, OSI protocol stack. So really, really, like, I think we took something that was like very clunky there and made it like, we're more reinforcing that Freya knows a lot of shit about computers, maybe not so much about being a good person. And like acknowledging to the reader, yeah, this is kind of like, this is a little bullshit. Like, why is it fucking, it's from an alien civilization. What are they like? They might not even know math. You know, they might have a completely different conception of reality or whatever there. Like, why would it be able to log into your fucking cable modem? But so that's there. But that is like part of the story there. And I love that we're justifying some of these, like we're saying to the reader, hey, I'm cognizant of the fact that this is not likely, right? And we're going to earn your trust through a series of like smart, well-researched interactions and where we acknowledge the reality of the situation and always justify when we're asking the reader to believe something that they know could not be real. So very important to me there. Yeah, so I think this has been, I don't want to say a success because I don't think our output was sufficient today, but it's definitely, I'm going to work harder tomorrow. And definitely on Sunday, I can do like almost a full day of editing there. So I'm going to work harder there. When we get to 25% of the way into the story, I'm going to try and combo like some kind of a fitness. I'm thinking about this, but I think I might try to combine some kind of physical fitness regimen with this, because if I'm going to be doing this every day, I want to also have like some kind of exercise routine with it, because I'm spending so much time editing and everything. I'm doing less physical stuff than I normally would, and I don't want to get fat, right? So we gotta do some kind of like diet and exercise program with this, because it's just like a lot more sitting. Normally I would be like a little bit more active during this time. I would be like walking to a coffee shop and beating up homeless people and fucking web swinging through Manhattan, and I'm not doing any of that because I'm working on this thing. So and I thought it might be a kind of interesting to have a how fat am I counter up at the top, and I don't know, like post like calorie totals or fucking something like that while we're spurging out on autistic shit. The sky is the limit. All right, well, thank you all for joining me this every morning. Come on down, and don't forget, we got like a rap contest tonight. Get at that, dog. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Rap contest.